Hello everybody, thank you for joining me for another sermon in lockdown. We hope that we'll be over this soon, but in the meantime, the more Torah we learn, the better. Marbe Torah, Marbe Chaim. Today is a special Erev Shabbat talk because it's not only Parashat Bemidbar, the Shabbat before Shavuot, it's also Yom Yerushalayim, the day when we celebrate the liberation of Jerusalem, its reunification in 1967. So what are we to make of this confluence of Bemidbar, Shavuot, and Yom Yerushalayim? Well, let's begin with the parasha. In this week's parasha, God ordered the Jewish people to camp by their tribes, and each tribe had its flag that it had to camp around. Why did God ask us to do this, and why do we need to know about it now, such that a major part of the Torah of this week's parasha is dedicated to telling us exactly which tribe camped where, and that each tribe had its own flag? The Midrash says that it was because when the Jewish people came to receive the Torah from the Almighty, they had a vision of tens of thousands of angels accompanying God to Mount Sinai. As the Jewish people gathered from around the desert, so the Almighty and thousands of angels came down from the heaven, and the angels were all graced by their own flag. They were grouped around flags, just as the Jewish people later were in the desert. And when the Jewish people saw this, they wanted to have their own arrangement of encampments around flags, just like the angels did. Thus says the Midrash. It's an answer of sorts, but it's also a question. Why did the Jewish people want to have these flags? And again, why do we need to know about this ourselves? The Nesiv Shalom explains that the flags that the angels had, and later that the Jewish people had in the desert, weren't just pieces of cloth on poles. They were much deeper than that. Just as nowadays an insignia denotes that somebody belongs to a certain organization or society, and often also identifies them for their role, their mission within that society, so the angels, when they came down with God from heaven, showed the Jewish people that every creature, including the angels, has a particular mission assigned to them by God. And the Jewish people wanted to have this assurance for themselves, that just like the angels, they too could be sure that each of them had a mission assigned to them by God. Maimonides goes further and says that this applies not only to every Jew, but to every human in the world. Kol bo'ei olam, he says, all those who enter into the world can be sure that they have their assigned mission, and it is our duty and our challenge and our privilege to find this mission for ourselves and ensure that we realize it and fulfill it as best we possibly can. This then was the beauty of the Jewish encampment around the desert, that as the Jewish people camped by their tribe around their flags, they could all be sure that each of them had a God-given calling, a vocation, a mission assigned to them by God, and they had to find that mission and fulfill it, and thereby realize themselves and make sure that their own lives will be worthwhile and fitting of the calling that God had graced them with. We can all do this nowadays as well. We are all called as well. We are all to be crowned by the flag, the insignia of our own particular calling, and we are to discover that in our own lives. We may specialize in Torah learning, Torah teaching, kindness, care and observance of Jewish law, or whatever creates a spiritual resonance within ourselves. That is our calling. That is us being rallied to our flag. There is another secret message hidden in the encampment around the flags. The Jewish people camped in their beautiful harmony around the temple in the desert, and this prefigured a time when we would cluster in our national harmony, each fulfilling our mission around the temple in Jerusalem. Yom Yerushalayim showed us that we are on that path. As we give thanks to God for that amazing moment in our history and pause in solemn reverence over the daring and self-sacrifice of the noble Jewish soldiers who helped to achieve that magnificent victory, together with their allies from other nations, let us also remember that Yom Yerushalayim challenges us all, young and old, broken-hearted and exhilarated, poor and rich, well and ill, to rally to our own flag, to seek our realization as proud Jews, and to hasten the complete redemption when God will return his presence fully to Israel, to Jerusalem, to our temple, and we will be able to serve there as a light to the nations of the world, who will flock around us to learn Torah, to learn the way of God with us and through us. And as we look a little bit further up beyond Yom Yerushalayim to Shavuot, we have this message as well, as we are called once again to the foot of Mount Sinai to receive the Torah anew from God. As we relive the giving of the Torah at Shavuot, we recall that the way to do this best is to be called to Mount Sinai, to arrive at God's feet with our flag in hand, aware of what we are called to as Jews, as individuals within Jewish society, as members of our own community, of our people, of our world, so that we go there with our back straight and our eyes uplifted, secure in the knowledge that we have a mission from God and that we are doing our best to fulfill it. Thank you all for listening. Take care. Shabbat Shalom. Chag Sameach.